Hello, everybody. My name is Miguel Trujillo, and today I'm going to restart an effort that I began a long time ago, and that is a daily video blog. And I think the subject this time around is going to be about art. I've been fascinated by art lately. Recently, I've taken a drawing class, and I'm also taking a ceramics class at my local community college. And my interest now is in talking about art, learning about art, and just experiencing what it is to be an artist in my everyday life. And to help inspire me along this path, I chose a book. This is called The Quotable Artist by Peggy Haddon. And I'm going to go through a few of the quotes. I'm just going to give you a few spontaneous interpretations of some of the quotes that are in this book. And I'll start with the very first one. In fact, here we are. It is through art, and only, let me say it again. It is through art and art only that we can shield ourselves from the sordid perils of actual existence. That's a quote by Oscar Wilde, 1854 through 1900. So I'll repeat that again. It says, it is through art and art only that we can shield ourselves from the sordid perils of actual existence. So what's my impression of that particular quote by Oscar Wilde? Well, first, let me state that I think Oscar Wilde was a genius, certainly, of his time. And I'm also thankful that his works continue to sort of shed light onto civilization today. So pleased. And I admire him very much for the wisdom he's bestowed on me over the years. So maybe we can take apart this quote a little bit. She starts out in a pretty dramatic fashion. It is through art and only art that we can shield ourselves through the perils of existence. You know, to some extent, that's probably true. You know, the first point I want to make is that life is pretty much subjective interpretation. And just living life hour by hour, day by day, is a kind of art. And I guess the point I'm making is slightly different from the point that Oscar Wilde is making. I'm making the point that art is identical to life, and Oscar Wilde is making the point that art can shield us from life's perils. I think the truth is probably in the middle. Oscar Wilde is no doubt correct, because I know that I've taken shelter in and among art when I've experienced difficulty or challenge, usually in the form of books. In fact, if I'm having troubles of any kind, one of the first things I'll do is retreat into a book. And that's how you know I'm in my happy place. If Miguel has got his nose in a book, you know that he is enjoying comfort and enjoyment. And maybe I'm shielding myself a little bit from the world surrounding me. But at the same time, it's not a form of avoidance necessarily, because the purpose of it quite often is more about inquiry than avoidance. Although, of course, it can be either. The intention behind the art can be either. I've also, in my day, enjoyed quite a bit going to the movies. I love movies quite a bit. Interestingly, in the last few years, I've been going to see fewer movies than usual. I think it has to do with my attention span. Movies are easily an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and sometimes I'm not able to find that amount of time in my day. So maybe I'll be content to watch YouTube videos for 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes perhaps. I won't indulge in a 2 hour long movie. There are other ways that we can protect ourselves from the slings and arrows of everyday life. Going to museums and galleries, reading poetry, listening to music. These are all ways that I've enjoyed distracting myself from some of the issues that crop up in life. And let me tell you, they do serve a really strong and enjoyable distraction. Anyway, I just want to say how much I appreciate this time that I've set aside to speak a little bit about what's been on my mind as it relates to art. In fact, me making this video right now is probably another example of an artistic endeavor. Lately, I've been trying to find my inner artist, and it's been coming out in a lot of different ways. At the forefront, it's a valuing, which is an active verb. The valuing for me is about appreciation of beauty. It's about the appreciation of design, where I can look at something's form and just admire its lines and its beauty. And it can be anything from a sunset to a tree to a piece of technology to, I don't know, to whatever is around me, this natural world that we live in. There's something sublime about a sunset. The different colors. It's kind of interesting. I was noticing one sunset the other day that was not very colorful, but still was breathtakingly beautiful. Even though the sunset was filled with grays and dark blues and shades of those, it was quite dramatic with contrasts and light and form. Yeah. Interestingly, there are indeed monochromatic sunsets sometimes. It doesn't make them any less beautiful necessarily. Beauty, after all, is in the eye of the beholder quite often. And what a treat it is to share one's conception of beauty with another person. Especially if they share your conception of beauty. It's wonderful to be on that journey together. Anyway, now one of the questions that Oscar Wilde describes is how art can be a shelter in the storm, so to speak. And that is very true. Like I was mentioning earlier, art can be a distraction. But it's much more than just pure distraction, because one can garner meaning from the art that one produces or observes from others, that's produced by others. And it's this meaning which brings added enjoyment to life and novelty and often greater happiness. So, art really is special in that way. Now, I am a lover of the natural sciences, and I think it's easy to conceptualize nature as being an artist itself. And it's kind of funny. Nature, of course, produces sunrises and sunsets, and is the base for all art, including the art that I develop or anyone else develops. It's like we're standing shoulder to shoulder with the greatest artist of all, and that is the art in the natural world. In fact, quite often I'm captivated about how lucky I am to live in a world that is as beautiful as it is. Just think of the earth in all of its beauty. The expanse of the land, the expanse of the sea and of the air, and space beyond. There's beauty at every turn, beauty in every corner. In fact, at the microscopic level and the macroscopic level, there's different levels, there's different aspects to appreciate. And each one of those levels or aspects is beautiful in its own special way. The blooming of a flower, the travels of a river down a hillside. Yeah, there's beauty everywhere. In fact, it's one of the, what I'd call, just one of the extra special parts of the world, that life is as beautiful as it is. And not only that, but we as humans get to appreciate the beauty of the world. And it makes me wonder sometimes if animals sort of comprehend the beauty that is in the world, similarly to human beings. I mean, are there dolphins that swim in the ocean and admire its beauty? I imagine there are. I can't imagine that would not be the case. Birds, dogs, cats, I imagine they each have their own sense of what's beautiful. And in some respects, I mean, if that's the case, then those animals can be artists as well in their own special way. So there may be more art in the world than just what's produced by humans. There's also the art that's produced by nature and the art that's produced by animals of all sorts. Of course, then one might consider, well, what is the definition of art? It's hard to say, really. And I'm not going to posit any kind of definition at the moment, but no doubt it has to do with expression. And as a human, we express ourselves in a lot of different ways. Not only mentally through our conceptual mind, but also physically through our behavior. So our ideas are a form of expression. Our behavior is a form of expression. And we signal to the world these expressions continuously. I mean, it's clear that we as human beings are artists as we live our lives. The same can be said for animals as well. Regardless of their ability to conceptualize. To some extent, even generative AI is also an artist, making judgment calls about what's against the rules and what's not against the rules, or making judgments about what's appropriate or not. So, yeah, artists one and all. In fact, maybe a more useful question might be, what isn't art? I think I'd be hard-pressed to say what might not be art. Perhaps what is not art is what another never observes. It strikes me to imagine that there are places in the universe that conscious being has never seen before. I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure that's true. I have a feeling that conscious beings have only been tucked away in various corners of the universe, never to maybe venture too far away from their origin. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if 99% of the universe was ever even seen by another conscious being. You know, if that's the case, I mean, imagine the generosity of the universe. The generosity in the sense that it produces art, even if there will never be an observer. Anyway, I'm moving far afield from my main theme, and that is that quote relating to shielding people, art shielding people from, say, the slings and arrows of life. Well, I'm sure art can shield people, but art has another power, and that is personal growth as well. Because we learn from art through artistic ideas. These ideas become our own, and through this ingenuity and inspiration, we create new art. We solve problems around us as an artist might solve artistic problems. So, anyway, I think that completes my talk for today. I just want to say how much I appreciate having you as an observer of my little piece of artistic expression tonight. And, you know, I'm realizing that in a way, it might be possible that nobody sees this video in the future, and that's okay. I'm generous as an artist. Generous, maybe not as generous, but and in analogy to nature, I'm generous in the sense that it's okay that there are no observers of the art that I create. In fact, in many respects, I'm counting on it. Which makes life all the more interesting, I suppose. Anyway, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the year. And I suppose I'll talk to you later. In the meantime, I ask that you keep with you this concept of how art plays a role in our lives for inspiration, for growth, for protection, distraction, enjoyment, and meaning, novelty. You know, art is part of what brings spice to life and makes life worth living in many respects. And how lucky we are to enjoy this artistic world where artistic expression is freely available to anyone in any corner of the world. And that art can take many forms, an infinite number of forms, really. All it takes is an appreciative eye, a curious mind, and maybe an open and willing body. So, thank you all, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.